So, today is the big day, the day that we end the Fit series. Yeah, there's another thing going on today too, I guess. I don't know if you've heard about that or not. Super Bowl tonight, and I know most of us are bigger college football fans, but just in case some of you want to watch it, we're going to move prayer up to 4 o'clock this afternoon. Here at 4 o'clock, so we'll be out of here in time for the Super Bowl. You can go and watch. So I know not everybody is, again, we'd rather see another national championship where Oklahoma plays Alabama. No, I wouldn't like to see that. Never mind. I think we might get beat 50-0. But I'm a sports fan and always have been and played a little bit when I was younger, but I'm just tired of hearing about it, quite frankly. I'm ready to watch the game. I don't know if anybody is, there might be some Cam Newton fans in here because you were an Auburn fan. There might be some Cam Newton's haters in here because you were an Alabama fan. But, really, I'm tired of one particular thing about this Super Bowl, and I'm tired of hearing Cam Newton versus Peyton Manning. Tired of it, because here's the bottom line. There's a whole lot more to those teams than one guy. Cam Newton is a great player. I will admit that. Peyton Manning is a fantastic player. But they could never do what they do unless they had a bunch of other guys to help them out. I know, again, people are saying Cam's like no quarterback ever, and he's fast and he's big. I got that. But what makes this Super Bowl, and I believe that the winner of this Super Bowl is going to be based upon who plays better as a team and not just one person. And so what I wanted to do is kind of pick up a little bit what we talked about last week. Here's what I love. What I love to watch is I love to watch at the end of big games like this, I love to watch the celebrations because there is just pure, unmitigated joy on the faces of those guys, and they're hugging each other. The guy that I remember the most, the best ever celebration was when Jim Valvano was coach of the North Carolina State Wolfpack. Back in, I think it was 85, his team won the NCAA basketball championship on a last-second shot. It was an air ball, actually, and the guy shot it. Everybody knows what an air ball is. It doesn't even come close to the rim. It's, not even near the bucket. Well, their best shooter shot this shot from way out, and it airballed, and it just so happened another one of their guys was there to grab the air ball and dunk it in, and the buzzer, it was the coolest thing ever. It was really a Cinderella thing. And Jim Valvano is a good old Italian guy. I mean, he's got the Roman nose and everything. I can talk about this because I'm one of them. And Jim, he's a classic Italian dude, and he just gets excited. When he's excited, he's excited. When he's down, he's down. And he starts running around. He's the coach of the team. He starts running around, and he can't find anybody to hug. It's just so cool. Watch it sometime. Check it on YouTube. Jim Valvano, National Championship. He's running around just frantically looking for somebody to hug, and finally he does and jumps up on somebody. And so I love that. And I love that because it's like, man, this is a team deal. This is a team win. And that's what I think that's what God intended for the church to be. A team. And here's what I believe, that a church is not fully functional until every member of the team is doing his or her job. That makes sense? Tonight, here's what's going to happen tonight. On a few plays, all the other guys might have done their job right, and one guy is going to miss a tackle, one guy's going to miss a block, one guy's going to miss an assignment, and because he does that, the other team's going to gain an advantage. And here's what I felt like take it for what it's worth. But I felt like the Lord was telling me as I was studying this is we can have lots of people doing lots of stuff, but even if one person isn't functioning in the body as they're gifted to function, it can kind of collapse the whole thing for a while. That's big time. That is big. And so last week we talked about spiritual gifts, and I challenged you to take a spiritual gifts test. If you didn't do that already, thank you for those of you who did. I've gotten quite a few of them. But if you haven't yet, it's simple. You can go to the App Store or what's the iPhone one? No, the Play Store for Android, the App Store for iPhone. Type in spiritual gifts test. The first one that pops up has a little cross with a blue background. Jump on it. You can answer, I think it's 80 questions real quick, and it'll just be real honest. You know, here's what one thing I failed to mention last week is this. On a spiritual gifts test, there is no right or wrong answer, okay? Because some people wrote me this email. I remember one guy's like, man, this is so sad. He's talking about his spiritual gifts. This is sad. I guess I should be more compassionate or whatever, but I've just tried to be honest. And that's fine. Because here's what the Bible says, that God has gifted each of us differently. Aren't you glad for that we're not a bunch of clones? Yeah, one guy's glad for that. All right, great. Steve's glad for that. Steve, I am too, man. 2 of us. That makes 2 of us. So today, I just want to be really practical because I want to kind of flesh this thing out a little bit and tease it out and show you what it looks like. And I don't do this very often. Just got a confession to make that much of what I'm going to be talking about today, I've actually done before. I hardly ever preach stuff that I've preached before, but I did it 5-6 years ago. And I heard a preacher say one time about preaching stuff you had before. He said, well, if it was good enough once, surely it's good enough again. This is something that I feel like, I just feel like this was something that was kind of inspired, I guess, is how I would say. And so what I want to do is go through, in the book of Romans, it gives us a list of gifts, and there's a couple others in a couple of different scriptures. We're going to pretty much stick to this one in Romans. And what I want to do is I want to talk about spiritual gifts in the context of a football game. That'd be okay? Sorry for you non-football fans. I apologize right now. But here's what I think that Jesus did, and maybe you can understand my logic here. Here's what Jesus did. When Jesus talked about the kingdom of heaven and about spiritual stuff, he made it seem so simple because he talked about spiritual stuff in the language of what people knew or some kind of framework that they knew. So if he was talking about, he might say, the kingdom of God is like. You remember him saying that? Somebody say, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, okay, great. The kingdom of God is like, the kingdom of heaven is like, a man that went on a journey and he left some folks in charge of his vineyard. They all knew that. I get it. I understand it now. I got it. And so that's what Jesus did. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm not nearly as good as Jesus at it. I understand. But just stay tuned because I think it'll help some of us kind of get a better grasp on, okay, well, I scored high in the gift of prophecy. What does that mean? And what does that look like? And I scored high in, the gift of mercy. What do I do with that? We're going to hopefully answer some of those questions. And at the end, we're going to do another little thing that's going to help you to get to know yourself a little bit better. And it even can help your marriage. Woohoo! That's right. Woohoo! All right, so Romans chapter 12 says this. It says this. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. We have different gifts. That means don't worry about somebody else's gift. You just worry about how God's given you. And then he says this. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. Everybody say prophecy. okay? If it's serving, then serve. Everybody say service. That's their second gift. If it is teaching, then teach. Teaching. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. So that's another gift. If it is giving, then give generously. Giving is a spiritual gift. If it is to lead, do it diligent. Leadership is a gift. And then he ends up this section by saying, if it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. So what I want to do is take those few gifts that are mentioned there, because they are some of the ones that are the easiest to kind of get your hands around and say, okay, here's where I can use this in ministry. Here's where I can use this at New Song, or here's where I can use this at my job or in my everyday life. And so our first gift was what? Anybody remember it? Going all the way back? Prophecy. Prophecy. And when you say prophecy, I always think back to the Old Testament. I think of these dudes that, all I can say is thank you, Jesus, that you didn't call me to be an Old Testament prophet, because I didn't want to walk around naked. You know what I'm saying? But thank you, Jesus. I appreciate that. Aren't you glad for that? Or I didn't want to have to marry a prostitute. This is the kind of stuff the Old Testament prophet. And so whenever I start thinking about that, I just go, what is this? Well, here's what I want. Here's the analogy I want to make. We're going to talk about this whole football context and a football game, and hopefully this will help you out a little bit. I will admit that I wasn't the greatest football player on the face of the earth, not the best in my school. I'm not hearkening back to glory days or anything. I just want to tell you kind of my experience as a football player. I was pretty fast because I was a few pounds lighter at that time, and had a decent pair of hands. And so my coach said, well, we need to put this guy at receiver, at wide receiver. When he said that, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I was a Dallas Cowboys fan. I had my favorite guy was a guy named Drew Pearson. I wanted his number and everything. I had visions in my head of catching the game-winning touchdown pass. And we threw, I think I caught 3 passes my senior year. 3 passes. One of them was a touchdown, though. Don't you kid yourself, okay? So, because we had this guy, his name was Billy Pewo. Where I grew up, there was a large Native American population, and Pewo's an Indian name. Billy Pewo was our quarterback. He was a sophomore, and he was about 5'5". And so the problem with Billy Pewo being your quarterback is he can't see over the line to throw the ball. That's a problem. That's a problem. And so I remember the passes that I did catch that year, that I'd be looking back and I'm like, what's going on back there? I don't see Billy. All of a sudden this ball would just kind of appear out of nowhere, and they're playing. I'm sorry, that's the Fantasy Island reference. Okay, so here's what we had to do. Me and another guy, Darren Sapcut, we were both wide receivers, and the way we didn't have the fancy way of calling plays back in those days. These days they hold up those goofy signs that might be, just have stupid stuff on them. Well, our coach was old school, and so here's what would happen. They'd run a play, I'd be on the sidelines, and coach would whisper into my ear. Not really whisper. He'd say into my helmet. He'd say, "Okay, we're gonna run 434 Z up 9." And so then my job was to take what the coach said to me, run into the quarterback Billy Pewo, and say 434 Z up 9. And do you know what I was doing the whole time I was running out there? You know what? I'm saying 434, Z up 9, 434, Z up 9, 434, Z. Do you know what I'm talking about when somebody gives you a phone number and you're like, 360-4936, 360-49. I mean, you just have to keep on, So I'm running out to the thing just going 434, Z up 9, 434. And then I get to Billy P. when I say, 4. Hold on a second. Oh, let me run back to coach real quick. No, I never did do that. I may have called some bad plays. I'm not sure. But I just wanted to make sure that what Coach Dietz told me to tell that guy, the play that needed to be run, I was just a guy who was I wasn't having any original thoughts of my own at that time. I'm like, Coach, I think we ought to run me on a post route. I think I can do it. No, all I was doing was taking what Coach said and getting it there. The gift of prophecy is exactly that. I'll call it a play relayer on the football field. When you have the gift of prophecy, it's like God is downloading something to you. It's like God is whispering into your ear. And he's saying, I want you to say this. Now here's the problem with those of you who have the gift of prophecy. When you start adding your own spin on it, that's where it gets all messed up. If I'm out 434, Z up 9, 434, Billy, I think we ought to run 434, Z up 9, with a twist to the right and a curl route to the end. No, I just blew it. So the gift of prophecy is being able to know what God, to discern what God is saying, and it's especially, I think, relevant to a group of people, to know what God is saying to a group of people and to speak that message. Does that help out? I mean, that helps me out. That's the gift of prophecy. And it can even be one-on-one. My wife has a gift of prophecy, and she uses it all the time, and people don't even know it. I forgot the story she was telling the other day, that she just read somebody's mail. She was like, what was that story you were telling the other day? She's like, I don't know, there's so many of them. It was somebody that she said something that she couldn't have possibly known about them to speak God's life to them. So if you have the gift of prophecy, man, that's powerful. That's good. Just don't add your own thing to it. Okay, gift of prophecy. Let's go on. Our next gift after the gift of prophecy was the gift of service. It says, if you have the gift of serving, serve them well. Serve them well. So here are the guys that are talked the least about, that have been talked the least about in tonight's football game and are given the least recognition. It's the big boys on the offensive line. Some people call them the big uglies. The big uglies. I mean, these guys are massive. How in the world could you miss them? Most of them are 6'6" or bigger, and most of them are 300 pounds or greater. I mean, big fellas, big boys. And they play in the trenches, and so it would be natural for us to think that, oh, these guys are the biggest, that they're going to get the most recognition. The truth is that I'll bet if I ask, hardly any of you could tell me any of the names of the offensive linemen that are playing in the Super Bowl tonight. You might know one. The guy from The Blind Side is playing tonight. Michael Oher or something. He's playing tonight. He's the left tackle, I think, for the Panthers. But you don't know any of those other guys. They don't get paid as much as the big name players. Despite their large stature, they're probably the most overlooked players on the field. See, the goal of an offensive lineman is not to be seen, but to allow others to be seen. An offensive lineman, except for super, super, super rare occasions, is not going to score any touchdowns, but his job is to open the way up for others to score touchdowns. Many times when a touchdown is scored, it's the offensive lineman that set up the touchdown with good blocking or good pass protection, and all the commentators can say is what a great run that was or what a great pass that was. So here's what somebody with the gift of service, that's their mindset. If you have the gift of service, you really don't want to be in the spotlight. You really don't care to run the ball and, to do the dab. That's not you. You're not there for the glory. You're just happy to make a way for others to be seen. That's the gift of service. That's what it is. It's, in fact, most folks with the gift of service get very fidgety whenever you start calling them out. You know, if you said, hey, come on up, we want to recognize you. They're like, hey, why don't you go, jump in a lake? Forget about that. They really don't want to be seen. The gift of service is like an offensive lineman. This person is ready to do just about anything except get up in front of people. The gift of service, okay? That's like an offensive lineman. So the next gift, we're just trying to go through these. Is helping anybody? I hope so. I need to get through them. The next gift that we're talking about is teaching. Teaching. Let me tell you what I think the parallel is on a football team or in a football game to the spiritual gift of teaching. If you ever notice those assistant coaches, again, none of us could probably name any of the assistant coaches on the coaching staffs tonight. But those guys are essential. I have a guy that I went to high school with that was the best football player in our school. He went to college. He's an assistant coach for the New York Giants. Robert Nunn is the defensive line coach for the New York Giants. And here's what Robert Nunn does. Robert Nunn doesn't worry about pass plays. He doesn't worry about running the football. All he cares about is what those big guys do up front to try to stop people from running the ball and to get to the quarterback. He watches, I guarantee, I haven't talked to Robert in a long time, but I guarantee he sits there and watches video over and over, is in the film room. He's studying all about that kind of stuff because he wants his guys to be ready, to be prepared. And guess what? That's what he loves to do. He loves to sit down and break down that film. Well, you see, if they do this stunt, if they have this block, this protection on, then we need to do this. And that is what the gift of the spiritual gift of teaching is all about. If you have the gift of a teacher, you love to sit around and just dig stuff out. You love, just like an assistant coach would say, okay, look, guys, look at this film. If we do this, then, if they do this, we're going to do this. And he loves to teach that person, that lineman, what to do. If you have the gift of teaching. Man, you love the scriptures, and you love to kind of dig into them, and it doesn't bother you at all that you have to get big old thick books to do it. We don't do that anymore, but back when I first started preaching, if you want to get really deep into scripture, you had to have a concordance that you had to have a dolly to pull around with you. Does anybody remember Strong's Concordance? Anybody with me there? It was this thick. It was bigger than any other book in the world, but you were spiritual if you had one. So you just dig stuff out, and you love to dig it out. That's what the gift of teaching is all about. You're not a teacher if you come in and you have a lesson plan, and you read the lesson. Today we will be studying about Moses crossing the Red Sea. Moses was a man that God had chosen. That's not, I guarantee you're not a teacher. If that's like, no, teachers they're so into it, and they've done some research, and they found out that all this stuff about Moses, like an assistant coach that coaches up his guys. Okay, next, spiritual gifts. So far we have done prophecy, we have done serving, we've done teaching. The fourth gift that was listed here in Romans chapter 12 is that of encouragement. There is a spiritual gift of encouragement. Some people just have the gift of pumping other people up. Some people have the non-spiritual gift of letting all the air out, don't they? Oh, well, I won't be visiting your house again. I don't know. But there are some people, you know what I'm talking about, that when you get around them, one of my I guess I would call him a mentor of mine, is an encourager, man, because when I get around him, I feel like I can conquer the world. You know what this guy does? Every Sunday morning, he texts me and says, I believe in you. God is going to do big things in your service today. That's encouraging to me, man. That's cool stuff. And so who does that on a football team? The cheerleaders, of course. Cheerleaders, of course. I just can't pass this up. By the way, you know what you get when you put 20 Oklahoma cheerleaders in one room? One full set of teeth. Boom! Okay, so I could have said that about Alabama and Auburn, but we'll say Oklahoma, okay? So a cheerleader, what's their job? Their job is to get the crowd fired up, to get them yelling for the team, and they go all out. I mean, flips and cartwheels and everything else. And I don't know about you, but I'm not sure that I would scale a pyramid that was, 7 layers of people deep just to get the fans to cheer for the team, but they do, and they will. And here's the real test of a cheerleader. The real test of a cheerleader is not when you just scored a touchdown or when your team is up by 21 points. The real test of a cheerleader is whenever you are getting slaughtered. Can you still cheer whenever your team is getting shellacked? Because, see, people with the gift of encouragement, they can. They can still say, they can see the good and they can speak to the good in you or in your situation. We need people like that, don't we, man? We need folks like that. We need people that say, hey, you're going to make it. It's okay. I know it looks rough right now. I know the game isn't going good right now. I know life isn't going good right now, but you can do it. That describes a person with the spiritual gift of encouragement. Person is an uplifter. When you spend time with them, you feel built up. You feel strengthened. The gift of encouragement. These things are they're so practical, man. They're so good. The next gift that it talks about in Romans chapter 12 here is the gift of giving. Now some of you are like, I don't have the gift. All right, next time they pass the plate, I don't have to worry. That's not true. There are some people that are specially gifted that give above and beyond and don't do it begrudgingly. That doesn't mean that all of us aren't called to give God what's His, which is, we believe is the tithe, the 10%. But there are some people that go way beyond that, and you would probably never, ever know that they go way beyond that because these aren't the kind of people that trumpet what they're doing. And say, hey, I've got a big check here in my hand. I'm going to drop it in the offering envelope. Everybody watch. Whoa, big check. It's heavy. It's way in there. No, they don't do that. People with the gift of giving, they love to give, but they usually give anonymously or very inconspicuously. And it isn't like, oh, well, I guess if we have to, we will. They love to do it. You know who this is on the football team? The boosters. You know what a booster is, right? For a football team, a college football team. It's somebody who loves that team and wants success for that team. Sometimes they want it so bad that they might do a few things kind of under the table or illegally. But generally, it's done in a way where they contribute to that team because they want to see that team go forward because they believe, they really, really, really believe in what's going on. A lot of times these people will get buildings named after them or stadiums named after them. Oklahoma's arch rival, Oklahoma State, has a huge booster, big money booster. His name's Boone Pickens. He gives millions and millions and millions of dollars to their program. Their stadium is named T. Boone's Pickens Field. It's just unbelievable the amount. And the bottom line is that he wants to see that program go forward. He wants to see that team do well. So he gives. That's what the gift of giving is about. It's like, I believe in this. I'm for this, and I want to give to this. And most of these folks wouldn't even be comfortable with their names being on buildings. They'd just rather give and it not be known. Giving. We're about through, okay? We got 2 more, then I'm gonna help you out a little bit. The next gift is the gift of leadership. The gift of leadership. Again, we talked earlier about these quarterbacks tonight. I have no doubt that Cam Newton and Peyton Manning both have the gift of leadership. They get out there. If you watch Cam Newton, whenever he gets his team members together and they're acting silly after a game and they're hitting the dab and all that kind of stuff, who is in the middle of it? Cam Newton is. Peyton Manning, when he's out there on the field, I don't know how many football fans there are, but when he's out there on the field and he gets under center, he is leading that team. And he speaks his own language whenever he leads that team, and it goes like this: Omaha, Omaha, Omaha. That's what Peyton Manning's famous for. I have no idea what that means. But he's leading that team. And that's what the spiritual gift of leadership is about. It's about leading people. And I always thought this was a funny proverb I heard, and it goes like this. He who thinks he is a leader but has no followers is just taking a walk. So if you think you're a leader, if you think maybe you did the spiritual gifts test and leadership was really high, but people aren't around you, you might want to go back and think about that. Because people are naturally attracted to them. They're just leading folks in the right way. So that's what God's gifted some people with leadership. I mean, a take charge kind of person. They're really good at getting people together, about putting them in the right places and providing direction, just like a quarterback has to do. Whenever they get up tonight at the line, there'll be times where guys will be misplaced, and they'll say, "Hey, you need to get over here. You need to go over here. We need to change." They direct things, and that's what people with the gift of leadership do. And then the last gift in this list, again, there are more, but man, we're barely going to get through these. The last gift is called the gift of mercy or of kindness. Again, this is so practical. This is so practical. And it says, if your gift is a gift of showing mercy to others, then do it, man. Do it with all the kindness that you've got. Showing mercy. Seeing those that are down and out, seeing those that are hurt and broken. And for some of us, there's just this thing. You can't pass a person with a cardboard sign that says, "We'll work for food," without stopping them and giving them at least $1 or $2. You probably have the gift of mercy. That's you. Some of you go right on by. You're like, go get a job then. You might have the gift of prophecy. Gift of mercy. Just your heart is just drawn toward people who are hurting and broken. And here's who I think you are on the football team. I think you're the trainer. You know what a trainer does, right? I mean, when somebody gets hurt out on the field, he rushes out. He or she rushes out to this person. Okay, how's it feel here? What if we put this tape around your ankle? Their bottom line is, how can I make this person better? What can I do for this person that will help them through this? And that's what the gift of mercy is all about. It's about saying, how can I help this person? This person, okay, they need a place to stay. What is it that they need that I can help them with? The gift of mercy says, I can't turn my back on the hurting or the broken. It kind of makes a little bit of sense, And here's the thing about spiritual gifts is sometimes we got to be careful because our gifts, we see the world through the way that we're gifted. And what we really expect is other people to see the world like we see the world, right? If everybody saw it like I saw it, man, it'd be a better place, wouldn't it? You believe that? Problem is that sometimes it's the mix of gifts within a body that make things beautiful and give it variety. I think that there was this one time in the life of Jesus where a couple of folks got kind of at each other because they saw the world through their gift mix. Remember, Jesus came to the house of Lazarus, Lazarus was dead. Lazarus had two sisters, Mary and Martha. And Martha came out to Jesus and said, hey, hey, hey. Actually, even before that, he came to their house. I'm thinking of a previous time. I'm sorry. He came to their house, and Martha was busy preparing all kinds of food. She probably fluffing up the pillows. She made sure the beds were nice and straight. And Mary, Martha's sister, came and just knelt at Jesus' feet and worshiped him. And Martha, because she probably had the gift of, in another list of gifts, there's the gift of administration. That's what she was, man. She was make sure all ducks were in a row, and she was mad because Mary wasn't that same way. We've got to be careful about that. So I'm going to help you out a little bit today. Everybody should have gotten one of these things when you came in. Did you get one? If you get it out and get your pen out, we'll do a little thing that'll take maybe 10 minutes, and then I'll let you out. Make sure you put your name at the top where the name. Anybody need one? We've got some extras up here if you need one. Come on up. Somebody, come on up, board. We need a couple folks that need one. All right. I am going to help you find your personal style. Your personal style. There's no more in there. They've got the extras back there. Boyd's got one. I've got an extra one here. Everybody good? Extra one over here. I'm selling mine to the highest bidder. Okay. So you see on there, we've got 1 through 12. I need you to mark your feelings about the following things, and we'll go through the first one. I'll tell you how that goes. So can we get that first? Okay. When I'm on vacation, I prefer to. If you are leaning over here toward be spontaneous versus follow a set itinerary, put one of those four numbers. If you're super spontaneous, you're a 0. If you really like to follow a plan, put 3. If you're kind of, see where it says number 1? Put one of those numbers beside number 1. If you were like super spontaneous, I would put a 0. It's question number 1. Everybody got it? Wow, I need somebody with the spiritual gifts of prophecy to just come pronounce judgment on these folks. Okay, all right. I'm sorry, I'm joking. Number 2 is this. I'm more comfortable doing things for people or being with people. And you can't say both. Just which way would you go? Is it more 0, 3? If you're kind of there in the middle, you can choose 1 or 2. You can't put a 1.3, 1.5, no decimals, okay? You ready? Next, 3 is, I prefer to set guidelines that are general or specific. General or specific. Here we go. Number 4, don't think about it too hard. When doing a task, let me just say this again. There is no right or wrong answer here. Don't think I'm trying to trick you into anything. Just be honest. When doing a task, I tend to focus on the goal, focus on relationships. So you understand, you can put 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, number 5. I like to leave my options open or settle things now. This is going to help you. It's going to help you. Number 6. I feel I've accomplished something when I've gotten a job done, built a strong relationship. Which way do you go? Number 7. I prefer projects that have variety or are routine. Number 8, it's more important to start a meeting on time or when everyone gets there. Number 9, I find schedules confining on the left or helpful on the right. Some of you guys are already like, oh, I can feel the fight coming on right now. Number 10, I'm more concerned with meeting a deadline or maintaining the team. You were doing a project or something, what's more important, meeting the deadline or maintaining the team? Number 11, I accomplish tasks best by working it out as I go or following a plan. So put somewhere in there. It could be 0, 1, 2, 3. I hope we're doing this right. Number 12, I place a higher value on action or communication. I know those are both good answers. Get all that. I place a higher value on action or communication. Okay, what I need you to do is total both columns. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11 at the bottom of that column, total that one. Oh no, we just went to 3. Both columns. Total the left column, put it down at the bottom. Total the right column, put it down at the bottom. Okay, everybody ready? Here we go. Now what I need you to do is that number for the left column, on the horizontal line, and you find that number and circle it, and circle that number and put a line all the way up and down, a vertical line. Everybody understand what I'm saying? I don't have a pen. Find on the first column number, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Circle that number on the line across, and then put a line up and down. Everybody good? On the other number, find it on the vertical axis. Find that number, circle it, and put a horizontal line. Somebody, you have an extra pen? Okay. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? So now, on the first set of numbers, you're looking along this line. You're looking along this line and say, I got 25. Okay, 25. I circle it, and I put a vertical line right there. Okay? My first set of numbers. My second set of numbers, I find that number. Let's say I got another 25. I circle 25 down here, and I put a horizontal line, and there should be a place where those two lines meet. Everybody got that? Okay, so this next slide will show you what your style is, and then we're going to talk about just a little bit, and we're out here. Okay, go on to the next slide. If you're in the top left quadrant, then you're task-oriented and unstructured. If you're in the bottom left quadrant, people-oriented, unstructured. Top right, get it done, and I said get it done now. Well, that's okay. Task-oriented, structured, and then the bottom right is people-oriented, structured. Okay, so let's just talk through that for a minute. And the reason I think this will help with your relationships is this. If you're married to somebody, you guys okay? I hear a little. Oh, I had 36. Okay, double your number. Sorry about that. My bad. I thought 36. I was thinking 36 of the total. Okay, so double those totals that you got. Sorry about that. Double your totals. And then, man, I've really messed things up. I know. Oklahoma math. Turn the live stream off. Everybody understand now? Make more sense? Sorry. All of you guys were like, yeah, you were all over there. There was